What's up, SNA Assassinators? This is Super Ninja Austin back here with another video, and this is the New Year's Evil edition of NXT, which is the first NXT show of 2025. And yeah, we're gonna be seeing like plenty of highlighted matches. I think I got one of them wrong, so I apologize for that, and I need to delete that on my description of false advertisement because the NXT Tag Team titles were now on the line, but we did got the men's and women's championships, and I will not believe what just happened on both of those matches, which I'm going to get into just a moment. But this is where we got the appearance of the final boss himself, which this is his first time of making an NXT appearance, which now thinking about it, yeah, he never ever made an appearance in WWE's developmental brand, but he just did tonight. And here's where he came out into his truck, once the camera starts showing everybody heading into the building of the Interdome, which it showed Trick Williams, Obafemi, what's his name, Eddie Thorpe, what's her name, Julia, and Roxanne Perez. And this is where we got a third commentator that was in the building, and it was none other than a longtime fellow commentator of what's his name, Vic Joseph, and that was Corey Graves. And that's where we got the match started off with Roxanne Perez and Julia, which I gave it the second place spot. And no, not because it was on the opener, but it was because it was well invested in very entertaining bout, and it was a shocking one at that. Even though we all knew that. Some of us we knew that when we made the predictions. Most specifically me and those fellow assassinators that predicted who might be the victor into this match. But I did not expect what was to come later on in the other title match, which I'm gonna get into at the end of the video. But yeah, but this is where we got, the match started off. This is where it was basically a part two of the first encounter on the NXT premiere on the CW on the first episode on the channel. But let's get started from there. Let's start off with the ladies, did a mini grapple game, but this is where we got Roxanne push Julia right off the top corner side. This is where they tried to do a redo, but this is where we got a psych from the Prodigy and women's champion with a back to belly maneuver, sneaking from behind, try to go for a wrist lock, turn it into a spider standing bridge roll up, which is kind of the most devastating move in professional. We got Julia then go for an arm bar. This is where we got Roxanne Perez countered out of into a full roll up, but it's where she only got a 2 even count. This is where she goes for a headlock. This is where she gets dipped right to the right side to the left. This is where we got This is where Roxanne Perez go for a cartwheel flip and the right hand to the face. It's where the WWE shows some more evidence that this is the new era of WWE and that old grouchy former chairman's no longer in office because they had Corey Graves, it allowed Corey Graves, let me rephrase that, to mention Shinsuke Nakamura in his days in NJPW, which I did mention the initials of the other company's partners, but it was a reference for Corey Graves saying he's like his old Julia's like Shinsuke Nakamura when he was in that other in the Japanese promotion at the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom, I think you could say, but it's where we got Roxanne Perez then through Julia right in the outside where she was about to dive onto her, but this is where it ends up going backfire because Julia hits her with a right hand out of interception. But this is where she gets her arm caught by Roxanne Perez when she quickly act when Julia was trying to get back in the ring. This is where she grabs on, stomp on it by stepping right through the what they call the middle turnbuckle. Just where you got Julia was like, my arm, and this is where then even the commentators like, whoa, what just happened here? That looked completely brutal. This is where. But luckily, Julia was not injured, at least of this point of view. But this is where we got Roxanne Perez trying to hit every move that she can think of other than her finisher, to put Julia away. But she just keep kicking out at two counts, whether if it was at 2.3 or even 2.7. But when we got Roxanne Perez going for an arm, like a like a leg over the arm, like a disarm her, but she couldn't disarm her because this is where we got Julia re-owned her arm, and this is where then she tried to fight right back with some arm bars of her own, but this is where she always keep getting denied though by the prodigy herself. This is where we got this is where we got Roxanne Perez threw Julia right into the bottom left side. It's where then but Julia are fighting back, but this is where we start seeing them as a competing in a wrestling tennis, like in the middle of the ring, until Roxanne won, threw Julia right to the left side, but this is where she gets hit with a claymore, like which some might say that Julia is a sore loser, but they're still in the match. Like this is just the mini game during the wrestling match of wrestling tennis, but this is where them. But this is where we got Julia try to go for the top rope, but this is where Roxanne Perez caught her and hit a Hurricane Rana, which it looked pretty amazing, picture perfect, which I don't think I ever saw Roxanne hit a Hurricane Rana right off the top rope, like at least in WWE, that is. This is where we got Roxanne Perez start stomping onto Julia's arm, like into the left side. Is where we got Roxanne to go for a wrist lock, bend it to her shoulders, where she then twisted more and hits a right underhook punch right into the gut. This is where they go for another wrist, like I believe triple twist. This is where then we got Julia go for a spinning back suplex. This is where we got Roxanne easily got back up. I'm like, how the hell she got back up so quickly? This is where she screamed at her. She hits a spinning back suplex onto the girl. This is where then we got Julia then fires back by saying like there's no like she's right back up. This is where we got both Roxanne and Julia start slapping each other right across the face. This is where then we got but this is where Julia bounced right into the right rope. This is where she tried to hit some slaps and punches. But this is where then Roxanne tried to block. But even for the blocks, Julia managed to find her way to get right through to her arms to get into the face of Roxanne. Even hitting a pitcher's inspired pitch like punch right into the face with the right hand. But this is where she gets. But this is where Roxanne wrist locked Julia's bad arm and slammed it her shoulder and arm first right onto the canvas. This is where we got Roxanne Perez going for a suicide dive, landing onto Julia. This is where she throws, picks up Julia. This is where she get it right back in her. This is where then we got Roxanne was trying to prove her point of being a women's champion. This is where fans start chanting NXT because they do big matches like this, and this is fits the description from over probably a decade now, of the NXT's women's division, which we cannot but a couple of those wrestlers that were this particular champion we cannot mention due to them being at the other company. But this is where we got Julia then going right up into with a hammerlock, turning it into like a hammerlock spinning power driver like maneuver. But it's where we go. It's where she goes for a pin, but it's where Roxanne kicked out out of the blue, which I couldn't understand how she did, or should I say out of the red, considering her gear. But yeah, this is where then Julia was questioning right in front of the arena. In the arena, this is where fans start chanting, "This is awesome." This is where then this is where we got we got her trying to go for a driver maneuver, but this is where Roxanne flipped right out of it. This is where I was agreeing with the fans when they were chanting this chant, saying this is awesome, and it was awesome. Because these girls just know how to put on a great match, even if it's not for a championship. But it's getting the second place silver trophy of the night. If it was if the main event wasn't promising, or I'm not sure if promising is the right term. I'll say if it wasn't very entertaining and a shocking twist in terms of the event, I would give this the golden trophy of the night. And yeah, and I'd say NXT's women's division is such an underdog division, because they just know how to put on some entertaining matches so far. But I think, in my opinion, I think it's tied for another division in a totally different company, but that's a different story for a different day. But Roxanne tried to go for a crossface, if she was somebody that pretty much invented it in the women's division. But this is where we got Julia got out of it. But this is where she managed to hit a middle missile dropkick onto the former, the former Japan promotion wrestler. That's where we got Julia that intercept Roxanne Perez from Irish whipping her into a sideways suplex. This is where Corey Graves told the referee, which his name was Tom, and this is where I start shouting like, "Yeah, now that's Tom, not the ring announcer from NXT. That's now on NXT that was on the main roster, which is Mike Roan." Like that certain teacher gimmick wrestler always claims that he is. But it's where we got. That's where Cora Jade nearly helped Roxanne retain her women's championship by throwing her right back in the ring. Even if she did stay on the ring, she probably still would retain regardless. But she might make sure that she be the winner of this fight, even if it is a counter. But this is where once she got in the ring, this is where Julia managed got in the ring for I'll say a one. Like by a 9.1 seconds. That's where we got Roxanne try to go for the Pop Rocks, but that did not work because amazingly Joe got 2.999. Julia didn't. Roxanne hits Julia with a what they call armbar, a Fuji armbar, but it's where Roxanne's former wrestling teacher, the 5-time WCW champion, Mr. Booker T himself, told him to make Julia forfeit the match. I was like, why? I'll be way too biased if he did so. But it's where Julia then hits her power. This is where she hits that sideways Northern Afad suplex maneuver, which I believe is her finisher for the second time, because the first time was not so successful, but the second time was a guaranteed outside the ring. But somehow she, after hitting that knee strike on the Roxanne, she found the three-leaf clover. The three-leaf clover, third time's the charm card, I guess you could say. They hit it yet again successfully, and this time. This helper got the 1, 2, 3. And yes, I did say 1, 2, 3. And we finally, just like the guy that made his first appearance on NXT, and that is the final boss himself. And yeah, now finally we got Julia as the new NXT Women's Champion. And then give a humongous congratulations onto that win. She totally deserved it. I wish they should have done this a long time ago, but at least it's better late than never. And I sure hope that by Stand and Deliver, we get that dream match between her and Stephanie Becker. And do you think it should be with one of them turning heel? And if so, who could it be? Could it be the Dark Angel or the Pretty Hot Mess? Let me know down in the comments down below. But that's where they showed it right on the Titantron that Julia is, and this is where she pointed out, that's absolutely true. But that's where next up we got Julia's friend of me, which is Stephanie Vaquera, then came out right after Julia already left and start continuing her celebration in her locker room, and that's where. And that's where Stephanie Vaquera was fighting for the other women's champion in NXT, and that is the women's North American Championship. That's where we got the Chilean wrestler came out first, and then we got who else came out first? There was a couple other wrestlers, I believe it was Cora Jade, and then who the other one? Who's the other wrestler? Was it Kalani Jordan? Yeah, it was Kalani Jordan, and then Lola Vice came out last. But yeah, and then this is where WWE NXT then showed to continue that this women's division is the most prestigious, as much as the men's are. This is where we got Javon Evans then had a little vignette with the show, which he said his jaw is completely shut right now. And he can barely speak right now. And he cannot even get so locked in his mouth, to the point that he cannot even open it, even if he wanted to, even with his hands, it's just completely shut. And this word, and he said, and it's all thanks to that menacing and psychotic Ethan Page, even though he didn't say it like that. This was This where it was he was and what you did to me and my kayfabe Uncle Cedric, what is it what you did to me, it was so it was unforgivably, I'll say He was like, I was painfully unacceptably unforgivable. And then is where then he promised him that he will get him jaw for a jaw. I guess that's what I'm if I'm saying it correctly, but let me know in the comment section right down below about this segment and when do you think they should have their match? Let me know in the comments. But also, like, do you think this was Julia's time to become NXT Women's Champion as well? Let me know in the comments. But as we get things started with all the women baby faces, one of them that's probably soon to be heel, even joined in the fun to fight Cora J. With Lola starting first, and then Stephanie started second, and Kalani doing third, is where they managed to throw the best friend of the former NXT Women's Champion, which is Roxanne. This is where we got Cora J to try to hit a white hand after grabbing on to Kalani Jordan. This is where she hits her right into her face, where she's like you cannot ambush me. This is where then but she did ambush Stephanie McCurry when she got back in the ring with a surprise roll up. But it's where all these women were keep roll ups onto each other. With start things off with Kalani Jordan doing it to Stephanie, and then we got and when that did not work to her, where we got her doing it to Lola Vice, is where we got what's her name Then Stephanie Vaquer did it to Kalani Jordan, and Lola Vice did this Vaquer. This is where then meddled with Vaquer, Cora Jade, with her trying to prove that she could be like her idol, which I'm not sure if I should mention her by name. If I'm not sure if it's even a she, hopefully I don't sound offensive. I'm just saying because you never know who it is that's her idol, because she got plenty of male and female wrestling idols. But this is where we got her nearly getting the pin onto Kalani Jordan. But this is where they medal right back at her, getting some revenge and justice against her. Stephanie Vaquer by hitting her with a triangle choke facebuster maneuver that she always does to her opponents. But this is where Lola Vice got her into a headlock. This is where Kalani Jordan hit a thrust kick right into the face of her probably soon to be arch rival if she does turn into the dark side. This is where then we got Cora Jade hit a middle dropkick onto Stephanie and Lola, like two other girls that she had problems with from the last couple of weeks. This is where we got Cora Jade trying to attack her from behind with a back clothesline. This is where she ducks out of it, hits a back elbow, ducks out, do a roll duck when she threw it right to the right side. This is where she threw Cora right to the right side, but she gets caught with a flying head scissor. But this is where Kalani Jordan managed to get back up successfully. This is where we got Lola Vice and Stephanie Vaquer then start fighting in the ring side and the left side. This is where we got Lola then went right, try to get back in the ring, but she gets diving pin rolled by what's her name, by Kalani Jordan. This is where we got Cannonball by Cora Jade. That's where she's talking about ha 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 ha, sounding like a lame mean girl that thinks she's cool when probably reality she's an insecure wrecking ball, I guess you could say, yeah, if that's the right term to put it. But that's where we got Cora Jade got Kalani Jordan back in the ring, but it's where she ends up getting being sent right into the side. Like after Kalani getting to the corner, this is where we got a little Vice helping out. But this is where they start going at it, like because this is every woman for herself. Like they earn themselves a spot at what's her name? What's her name? At Fallon Henley's championship. This is where we got this is where Stephanie Vaquer came in and started fighting both girls, and this is where Cora Jade tried to weasel her way back in. But this is where she ends up getting headbutted right into the upper left side by Stephanie Vaquer. This is where she goes. This is where we got Stephanie Vaquer go for a boot right onto what's her name, to Lola Vice. And then she went right to Daniel Cornston. This is where we got Kalani Jordan doing it. This is where she goes for the boot right into Kalani Jordan right to the upper right side. This is where this is where Kalani grab onto her hair. This is where Stephanie Vaquer was like, you think you trapped me? Like I actually trapped you. This is where she dragged and screwed her, even though she had her left leg still hanging off the left side. This is where I was like, this is a wink, wink, nudge, nudge of what she did to that other light skinned girl over at maybe at the. Nah, I can't say it, but this is where we got what's her name? Stephanie Vaquer Spears, the idol, maybe of the of that particular women's wrestler, which was Cora Jade. This is where we got Stephanie McCurd and try to go for schoolgirl, but this is where she gets swipes kicked by Lola Vice, and along with Kalani Jordan on the diagonal side and the upper right side is where Lola Vice said, "I think it's time for my signature move." It's where they showed that Fatal Influence are planning on getting ready for their match against Tatum Paxley, Gigi Dolan, and Shotzi. This is where we got Lola Vice hits a running hip attack onto what's her name? Onto Stephanie McCurd, but not onto Kalani Jordan. But this is where we got what's her name? This is where what's her name came in. Like when it went to the upper right side, like and gets Shining Wizard knee strike by what's her name by Lola Vice, but this is where Lola Vice flipped her right over her, and she didn't got a chance to do that. But this is where she ends up getting drop kicked by Stephanie McCurd. This is where she went right to that same top rope and hits a diving crossbody onto both Lola and Cora. This is where then we got where Kalani Jordan didn't go for a moonsault, like if she's Io Sky and Charlotte Flair combined, like into one girl. That's a totally different culture. Well, maybe she's part with. Maybe what Charlotte is. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. I hope I don't sound offensive rather than just pointing out the facts in the matter. But it's where we got Kalani Jordan going for a crossbody, but Stephanie McCurd didn't try to flip her over, tried to go for a pin, but Kalani kicked out of it. This is where we got Stephanie McCurd goes for a clothesline, but this is where she gets, this is where she ducks, goes for a wheelbarrow roll, but this is where Stephanie McCurd then counter into a wheelbarrow, into a handstand. But this is where we got Lola Vice breaking up the count. This is where we got it's rolling Stephanie right to the right side. But this is where Cora Jade hit a Shining Wizard knee strike. This is where Cora Jade tried to go for a clothesline. Lola Vice counter into a Lola Vice knows Kalani Jordan go into a wrist lock and to a sideways Olympic slam. This is where then she looked like she's about to hit her Idol's finishing maneuver, which is the man that says Rob Van Dam. But no, she was about to go for a 450 splash, like saying that like if she's trying to give Bianca Belair run for her money. But this is where then we got Lola Vice then trying. I go for a spinning back fist, if I'm not mistaken. I believe she did so. Right to when Cora Jade moved out of the way, this is where we got Stephanie McCurd go for a super kick onto Lola Vice, throw it right to the left side. Stephanie McCurd then try to go for that her package backbreaker maneuver, Majiggy, that FCB, if I'm mistaken, what's it called, but it's the helper got the 1, 2, 3, and it seemed like WWE wanted to put all their time and efforts with these international women of Stephanie and Julia, and do you think that we can see Stephanie McCurd getting a shot at the NXT Women's North American and becoming the champion? Let me know in the comments. But we're going to be talking more about that later on. But this is where we got. But it's where we got Sarah Schreiber asking the question about like an update about what's his name. What's her name? With Eddie Thorpe, because this is where earlier, like I forgot to tell you, like this is where we saw Eddie Thorpe was right down some stairs, like yeah, looked like he was attacked, but this is where like what's her name? What? It was, but this is where then what's her name? That's where Ava thought that it was all just an elaborate trick again. Like, and she also thought that Eddie Thorpe was playing the Boy Who Cried Wolf game again, like by trying to get some attention. But this time it was revealed that it wasn't just a trick. It was a trick. It was this. This is where then this is where Sarah Schreiber asked Ava about that. This is where she was like yeah, oh, Eddie is all fine. Like he's not. She's like I'm not gonna fall for that. Like he did this before and he was exactly fine. Like there's nothing to worry about. This is where then turns out it wasn't a fake trick again. That's where this is where Ava. This is where Ava then That's where Ava then was like, no, Oba Femi came in. This was like no, like this. Like Eddie, like he's definitely not going to be returning. Like when Ava confirmed that it will indeed still be a triple threat match, but it's weird that Obafemi revealed that he did attack him this time, and because it was because he smashed him in that trophy with the NXT Men of the Year. But it's where Ava was like, okay, I understand now. Like, but it's still going to maintain a triple threat match. Like whether if he makes a return or not, this is where Obafemi then was like, well, that doesn't matter. What if he somehow makes a return in the match or not? The results will remain the same. And that's where then he walked out of there. And who do you think was going to win? Let me know in the comments. But I was hoping that Eddie Thorpe was not going to come out at the last minute and somehow pull off an upset and become the new NXT champion. But we're just going to have to wait and see about that. But that's where we got the more women's action. It seemed like I think this is probably the only matches. I think the NXT Championship match was the only match that was the men's because the other matches were women's matches. Like if it's not the 6-woman tag match or the NXT Women's Championship, because no, don't throw it right there. But anyways, that's a rock. Trey, like no time for throwing right now. But anyways, Assassinators is where we got an attack. You don't have any ideas, but anyways.
I missed it.
But anyway, this is where we got the women's tag team match between Fatal. No, it's a softball. But anyways, we got Fatal Influences, JC Jane, and Fallon Henley. Well, partially, but anyway, we got Fatal Influence. What's her name? JC Jane, Jasmine Nixon, and Fallon Henley against Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan and Shotzi. Which, by the way, I'll give it what rate? Well, I'll rate it. But be careful doing that because it'll make it easily freeze. But anyways,
yeah, it easily broke.
Or glitch a little. But anyways, this where. But anyways, well, what was I? That's where they showed like their of a top of their website, which is called tops.com, like which it shows all the stuff from the past in WWE and even about the wrestlers as well, like insider stuff. But it's where. But that's where they showed like a shocking appearance, like with both Triple H and the president of WWE himself, Nick Khan, or that Maxwell guy will call him, Jolly Old Saint Nick. But that's the first time I saw Nick Khan made an appearance on the WWE show, even though he was in attendance. But I never saw him like actually like made an appearance. That was a close one, but anyways. This is where they showed like a vignette with Lucian Price and Brock Lima sending a message about Nathan Frazier and Axiom that they're coming after for those tag titles. And I was like, well, why not tonight? Well, maybe they didn't have enough time to do it. And plus, The Rock was there, so they had to cancel it for now, I guess. But it's where we got the match started, which Jasmine Nix decided to ambush Gigi Dolan out of nowhere. While things start off with Tatum Paxley and JC Jane, but with a attacking JC, the former Toxic Attraction member. This is where she gets pushed by JC, but Tatum Paxley flip right over, hits a middle drop kick. This is where then she starts stomping on her. This is where she dragged her right into the middle of the ring. But she gets denied with a kick out at 2.4. This is where we got Tatum was about to put her away with a firewoman's carry like maneuver. But this is where she gets slammed back first by JC. She went right to the right side, hit a swift kick right into the face. That's where she made her assistant Jasmine Nix to come and hit the same move. Even though Tatum was kneeled this time, she just hit it anyway. Just third shot go for a pin. She only got one even though. That's where we got Tatum Paxley got back up, hit a middle headbutt. This is where she tags in Gigi Dolan. While she tags in Shotzi, this is where they took turns Irish whipping right into each other. Tatum Paxley was doing it by hitting making what's her name? Tatum Paxley. Not Tatum. Gigi Dolan go for a middle drop kick while she got Shotzi to go for a senton. She tried to go for a pin on to what's her name, Jasmine Nix, but it's where she only gets a 2.2 count. It's where then we got Jasmine Nix somehow counter out of it when she got back up by the bossy badass. This is where then we got her going for a trip her over. She tags in what's her name, Fallon Henley, but she ends up getting wheelbarrow roll up. But this is where only got her like a 2.3 count. This is where we got Shotzi was like, you can bring me down, but you can't take me out. This is where then she then hit some punches, some chops, try to go for a suplex onto the current women's North American champion. This is where she drags onto her in the middle of the ring. She goes for a cover. She got a one, she got two, but this is where we got what's her name? What's her name? Fallon Henley kicks out of it. That's where fans start chanting for Shotzi. Like, this is where we got a forearm strike repeatedly from the former women's tag team champion. This is where we got Fallon Henley did say, like, you shouldn't be here. This is where she eyes up to the right side. She knees her right into the midsection. She started treating her like if she was an elderly woman. Like, that's not supposed to be in a young person's like private club, like a nightclub, or even some kind of a or even at some kind of like a young people's place, like the party at, but wherever, like a nightclub, a night party. Like, this is where then we got Shotzi and and the rest of her crew was fighting Fatal Influence by throwing fists, breaking down, which I was surprised Booker T wasn't too excited about. But that's where we got Gigi Dolan through Jasmine Nix, while Tatum Paxton got JC Jane, while Shotzi got what's her name, Fallon Henley to the right side. She tried to go for a suicide dive, but she ends up getting hit with a right hand, like boom! And this is where she fell right face first onto the canvas. But this is where Shotzi hit a forearm strike right into the face on the Fallon, which I was surprised she got back up from getting hit with such a maneuver. But this is where we got Jasmine Nix did try to turn her around when she tried to check on when Gigi was checking on her partner Shotzi. But this is where she hit the big old headbutt like she's a female Drew McIntyre. But this is where JC Jane hit a cannonball onto the Gigi. But this is where we got Tatum Paxley hit the dive onto her, but this is where Tatum gets swift kicked right into the face by Fallon. But it's where Shotzi hits a suplex, which that was very pretty devastating, I guess you could say. But I'll say these two matches, like the women's Fatal 4-Way number one contenders match and the 6-woman tag match, I would give it probably tied with the Bronze Trophy of the night, because one. It was generally like what it needed to be. And second of all, it continued the story about Fallon Henley's women's intercontinental. Fallon Henley's women's North American champion, not intercontinental champion, because that belt's going to go either to Dakota Kai or Lyra Valkyria, depending on who's going to win that finals tournament. But anyway, we got a powerful force in all of professional wrestling came on, which was the commercial break. But once they finally got off the advert, this is where we got the women fighting back inside. But this time it was the former Toxic Attraction teammates, which I was wondering where their leader went. But oh yeah, that's right. Like, she got the exit the way out. But it's where Gigi Dolan trying to pick her little double underhook on her teammate, but she ends up getting hit by her former teammate's assistant from behind. She ends up getting super kicked by her former tag partner that she won the NXT Women's Tag Championship. That's where she tagged and Fallon Henley in. If you go for a double suplex, but Gigi Dolan flipped right over, had a double out neck breaker on the both women. This is where Shotzi gets tagged in. She hits a crossbody. This is where she grabbed on. That's what she told what's her name, Gigi Dolan, to pick her up into a back suplex position so she can run to the right side, hit a neck breaker. She gets nearly a 1-2-3, and she would have probably gotten away with it sooner if it wasn't for the meddling friends of Fallon, which is JC Jane and Jasmine Nix. And no matter, this is where they got thrown out by Tatum Paxley and Gigi. This is where she goes for a wrist lock. This is where on the what's the name of Fallon Henley? This is where we got both Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley go for a double step up in Sagiri. This is where we got a cannonball from Gigi Dolan to what's the name to Jasmine Nix. While we got what they call a moonsault by Tatum Paxley to JCJ. That's where Shotzi hits her senton dive off the top rope like she normally do for the win, which she got right here. And the winners of this match, Shotzi, like Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolan, which with that fatal influence was very disappointed that they didn't get the dub tonight, but it's where it's going to lead into a story like with the Women's North American Championship, which we're going to see more next week. But this where then we got what's her name? Ava was meeting what's his name? Ethan Page in her office. This where she was like you heard what Javon said, like while he said, Barry said, because his jaw is wired shut, like because you broke it right in half. It's where the Ethan Page like that moment I've been playing in every episode ever since. Like you're making me sound like look like the bad guy when in reality is like you. This was like like that moment, like it's playing every episode of NXT since then. Like when not some reason, like big and storm episode of NXT, I looked like a bad guy. But make matters worse, like Ethan Page is nowhere to be seen. Like despite this biggest event like of 2025 so far, and that is New Year's Evil at the Institute. That's what This where then Ava then was like don't try to make it perfect because like this is my show, like this is NXT, like I'm running it and I call the shots, and this where he's like, and it's like it's a perfect. This where he's like, and this is a perfect timing. This where Ethan Page is like, what are you talking about? There's nothing perfect around. This where then it was Ava's dad, which y'all know who that person maybe is the final boss. And this where he interrupted him, said, actually, it is a perfect time. This where fans start chanting Rocky, like Rocky, which they showed a stare down, like it could happen in the foreseeable future. We can see the All Ego wrestler take on the final boss. This where he's like, Ethan Page. This where then Ethan Page was like, correct. Like, and that you final boss is where he's like, correct. This where they were like, nice to meet you. This where The Rock was like, I heard everything about you, Ethan. Like, and it's where The Rock was, and this is where The Rock's like, yeah, I heard about you before, and this is where he's been like, yeah, he probably heard everything about. This is where he's like, well, not all good ones, like, but that's okay. Like, I heard you broke a guy's jaw, like, is that correct? Like, daughter Ava, this is where, well, he didn't say daughter, but he, you don't want to embarrass her. This is where it's like, yeah, that's correct, Dad. And like, this is where he's like, well, I'm gonna let you know, like, this where Ethan Page and claim Javon deserved it. This is where he's like, well, I'm gonna let you know, payback is gonna be a biscuit iced tea chicken hotcakes. You know what? I'm like, heck, like he actually said this, like payback is a bitch. Like, and this is where I started cracking up. I was like, yeah, this is Goofy Wrestling other night, and I promise you guys, I'm not gonna try to make it like a censorship like in 2025. I might as well use it. It's where then he's like, I also heard that you broke another man's fingers. It's where he's like, and if you need anything, like since I'm the final boss, like every woman, every man, like they need anything, they come to me. And if you need anything, Ethan, like you come to me too. Like that. This is where the Ethan Page, like, I like the sound of it. This is where they shook it out with their hands. He's like, one more thing, Ethan. I am if I'm the final boss, like in the final boss, but in this show of NXT in particular, like Ava's the final boss. This is where he pointed, or she's the final boss, which is obviously his daughter, of course. But this is where he's like, and if you want to be cool, and I want to be cool, if you're cool with me, like you need to be cool with her as well. Like you cool? This is where it depends. Like, okay, we will be cool. This is where I'm not sure if he was just saying that because he didn't want to get his face here. This word I start cracking up when after he said one day I'll see you like in the main roster. Well, following up when he slapped him right in the backside. It's like, I'll get your sweet ass out of here, which I believe that's the nice way to say candy ass is where Abe was like. Now, luckily, I don't have to worry about that. Like, it's a crazy week. Like, I have to talk about that. Like, NXT, all about moments. Like, big one. Like, this is a really good one to say. Like, but speaking of that, like, Dad, like, and this is where The Rock, and this is where then she started asking, well, what are you going to say out there? This is where The Rock was like, no, I don't know what I'm going to be saying. Can you give me some advice? And this is where then Ava then told her father that said, no one ever, like, you've been in the millions of crowds and millions, like, you never, like, and the one thing, only one crowd you never been into is the NXT crowd. And this is a totally different atmosphere from any of the shows on the main roster, from Raw, SmackDown combined. And this is where and Ava's like, the only advice that I can give, I guess, you have that freedom to say whatever you want. And this is where the Rock's like, and this is where the Rock's like, was like, okay, like whatever I'm gonna feel like what they're saying out there, I'm gonna say what's in the heart. Like, I was like, yeah, that's probably the best advice, because every time when something that I need to say, like that, like, and if it's something that's kind of optional and I don't have to worry about saying something that somebody wants me to say, whether if they give me a script or not, I would just say, like, whenever I feel something, I just say it from the heart as well. So I'll agree on that. But this is where we got the Rock said something that was censored out. Like, this is where he didn't woo at the crowd, but this is where we got, that's where we got Alexis King that came out. I believe this is the only match that was on the card that was a men's match, that other than the NXT Championship match, and I totally forgot to tell you that this was the other match, which I'll say they did a perfect job executing it. They get the blue ribbon, but I just don't get, like, why did they took the what's it called, the Heritage Cup trophy from him in the first place? Like, and give it back to Charles Dempsey, even though he won by DQ. Even if he won by DQ, even though it was a sneaky way by the father of the former Heritage Cup champion, Charlie Dempsey. So even if you relinquish that trophy from him, like, it could be vacated and not given back to the previous champion. And when I say this, I don't mean no disrespect to Mr. Charles Dempsey. Just saying, like, because now that makes sense realistically. But let's get into the matches where it was sudden death style, because that they only got, I think they got like one win out of the piece. That's where until they got DQ, it really was sudden death. Like, whoever wins, like by pinfall or submission, they become the Heritage Cup champion and walk out of the Into Dome as the champion. This is where Charlie Dempsey snapmares out of a headlock. They didn't go for another headlock down below, but this is where they went right to the bottom right side. This is where, around the left side, actually. This is where we got Alexis King drove wheelbarrow roll up, but this is where she get pushed right off. But he arm drags Dempsey right to the left side, trying to hold on to the arm of Charles. This is where he got him in the corner, but this is where we got Charlie pushes him, Alexis right to the left side. He tried to clothesline Alexis King right to the left side. It's where he ends up getting flipped right over to the left side. He gets missile drop kick by King. This is where then King hit the crossbody not only to Charles but also to Tavion and Miles. This is where then he tells the female member Ren Sinclair, like, how that she likes that. This is where then. This is where the powerful force and all of professional wrestling came on, and that's the commercial break. But once they got back into from the adverts, this is where we got, I believe, Charlie Dempsey was in control into a Kimura lock, like which I'll say, yeah. Which I was like, what? Alexis King was in control, like, yeah. I guess like that's where they get the name Powerful Force from. But this is where we got Alexis King who came back. Right, and put your target like up a right guard. And we got Charles Dempsey needs him in the midsection in reversal. They ends up getting power slam like if he's Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes combined. That's where what's his name? Booker T described it as a beautiful maneuver that he just mastermind right out of the back. And this is where Charlie Dempsey was cutting out, was bleeding out the red stuff, which I was like, that's very rare to see in NXT, like, unless if it's DQ. But that's where we got, not DQ, no DQ contest. Like, if it's like a hardcore one, this is where we got Charles Dempsey, right, and go for an armbar to Alexis King. This is where Alexis King picks up the fellow second-generation wrestler with a powerbomb, try to go for a pin, but this is where it barely got him a 2 even count. This is where then Charlie Dempsey was shaking his head like he needs the remain as the Cup champion. This is where he goes for a crossface chicken wing, but Alexis King smartly hangs on to the ropes. This is where Charlie Dempsey's like, all right, like you. Oh yeah, like okay, you're gonna hang on to the ropes. Like, I might as well leave you here while I hit you with the strikes. Like, but this is where the referee started counting again until he got to 3. He threw him to the right side, elbow strike, King right to the face, put him right to the bottom right side, put him right, the diagonal corner side, and the upper left. This is where we got Charlie Dempsey who grabs onto Alexis King right to the bottom. But this is where he goes for a springboard dip into a shoulder block, collision right into Charles Dempsey. But this is where we got Alexis King then run to the left side. But this is where we got Charlie Dempsey then try to go for a duck and a leapfrog, but this is where once he tried to go for a leapfrog, it wasn't successful because Alexis King forgot to go underneath between the legs of Charles Dempsey. But this is where he actually hits him right to the family jewel, and it seemed like that him and Ren cannot have a little bit of post-match activities, which I'm not sure if I should have said that, which that sounds very inappropriate. But anyway, this is where we got Alexis King then go for the coronation right out of nowhere. This is where then he gets the 1, 2, 3, and finally becomes a new Heritage Cup champion. But I don't understand why did he got stripped out in the first place, but at least he got the trophy, like, and then yeah, he finally had a chance to win it, like without anybody stripping him out of it and claiming that he did not actually win it fair and square. But that's where we got Ava then was in the locker room. I'm not locker room, in her office actually, like meeting up with Fallon Henley and Stephanie McCurry because they will be battling it out for the NXT Women's North American Champion in the future. But before Ava can even make that into make it a schedule or make it official, I should say, this is where Shotzi was like, before you start making things official, Miss Ava, like technically, I was the one that pinned Fallon Henley. So if anybody should deserve a shot that went to the picture, it should be me. That's what Stephanie McCurry said something about Shotzi, like in Spanish, which sounds very insulting. But I believe on my theory is she was like, but before she said that, she's like, why is she asking for a shot when I'm here, beat 3 other women, 3 different women, like before she even competed in that 6-woman tag match, like, and what is it? And this was like that actual number contenders match, and this is where she was like unlike Shotzi right here, but this is where then she said something. This is where Shotzi's like, what do you mean by that, Stephanie? And this is where they found him like, okay, like I'm gonna let you guys discuss it. Like, I'm about to go out because I don't want to hear any of these immature arguments. But this is where Ava's like, okay, like if you think that y'all are capable and eligible of competing for this women's title in particular, like how about we do a number 1 contenders match next week, like at next week's edition of NXT when they go back to the Performance Center. This is where we got Joe Tessitore was in attendance, like saying like, yeah, like this is where he pointed out the fan that said like heels have eyes. I believe that's what it said. Like, which I was wondering what that means. Like it's a old wrestling saying, but I'm not sure where exactly they got the wrestling phrase from. But that's where we got Trick Williamson came out in a very awesome like a very awesome entrance, like with him jumping right up on stage. He was like, yeah, like I'm in here in Los Angeles, like which is the best place to be when it comes to entertainment. But this is where then Booker T's like, yeah, and yeah, he must have had the best time of his life and in the city of angels, I guess you could say. But where we got it's where like we got Trick Williams to try to do his best to prove the haters and doubters wrong about like him being a champion, like only for I'll thank the plain luck, but he's got put that test by facing not just 1 but 2 guy, but it seemed like at first he's gonna be taking on the Nigerian ruler. Like look at what's the name of course? Look at Obafemi, yeah. That's where we got what happened. That's where they grapple it out like in the ring. That's where we got Obafemi then somehow got into a waist lock back to belly. That's where he gets stunned by Trick Williams. This is where I believe Trick Williams trying to take a page out of SNA's playbook. Well, like if he was a wrestler in 2012, because and then came up with like a different version of a Death Valley driver, but with put the legs out like a Falcon Arrow. This is what he did right here. But this is where like we saw both men were down, especially Obafemi after taking this maneuver. So I was somewhat very happy that Trick Williams hit that maneuver because it should be promoted like either way of a Death Valley driver, like in professional wrestling, which I think that's the most, I'd say, underrated maneuver, along with it being the most dominating one. But this is where we got the powerful force came on, but the adverts. We saw Obafemi then threw what's his name, Trick Williams back first right into the upper left side of the ring post. This is where we got Eddie Thorpe then managed to go back, head his way into the arena with a steel chair, like trying to get probably some revenge on the Obafemi. Probably not 100%. I don't think he's even in 50% at this point. But this is where Obafemi then went right into try to counter and try to go for a back suplex, but Trick Williams flipped right out of it. But this is where he went right to the upper right side. This is where we got Obafemi try to spear him, but this is where Trick Williams moved right out of the way. And this is where he gets shoulder first right into the upper left corner inner part of the ring post. This is where fans start chanting, whoop that trick, while the other half is chanting, whoo, like which that's the chant of Obafemi. But Obafemi hits a right hand to the face. This is where we got the Nigerian ruler then try to go for with that exploded suplex, but Trick Williams countered it into like a avalanche bookend, which I don't know how he did so. This is where he landed right on top of Obafemi, but this is where he gets the shoulder up at 2 point. I'll say 7 if I'm mistaken, if not 8. But this is where then we got Trick Williams start going for a right hand to the face. That's where yeah, Obafemi goes for a forearm strike. This is where we got Trick Williams hit a pump kick. But this is where we got Obafemi the shoulder butt. But this is where we got Trick Williams hit a flying clothesline. I don't know where. This is where he finally brought him down. This is where we got Trick Williams was about to go for, I believe, a trick shot. Where I think he hits a swinging neck breaker, like and allow Obafemi to try to go for a clothesline, which he ducked obviously. This is where he took a page out of his girl Lash's playbook and hit a body slam to a guy that's much bigger than him. This is where we got Trick Williams and throw Obafemi right to the left side, hits a flapjack onto the ruler. This is where Trick Williams was probably ready to hit his finishing maneuver, which you all know is the trick shot. This is where he was just seconds away of doing so before Eddie Thorpe coming up. But I think some must have changed his mind, because once he tried to go for a spinning boot, he gets hit with a pop-up headbutt. That's where we got Obafemi then grabs onto the NXT champion. That's where he tried to hit a pop-up powerbomb, but that's where it ends up getting DDT and an interception. And you know the rules in professional wrestling. If it don't work the first attempt, it might work the second time. That's exactly what happened to Trick Williams right here. But we're going to see plenty more of that, because this is where he tried to go for a pin after the spinning kick he tried to do the first time. It didn't work, but it worked second time due to it being a guaranteed. But even for this maneuver alone, it still kicked out at 2 point, like, I'll say at 2 point, I'll say 8 if I'm mistaken, if not. This is where fans start chanting, "This is awesome, clap, 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 clap." And this is where I was like, yeah, and that's why it's getting the #1 golden trophy of the night. Like, even if this was supposed to be a #1 spot, I still think this would have been great. But this is where Obafemi hits a sit-out power bomb, which I'm not sure if this was a pop-up one though, but it almost got the win, because he would have gotten away with it sooner if it wasn't for that meddling, complaining totem, I'll say totem penguin, I guess you could call him. But this is where we got Oba. We got very angry, tossed Eddie Thorpe right into this chair there he was holding. We went back in the ring. That's where he hits a discus clothesline and a discus elbow. Throws what's the name of Eddie Thorpe right into the upper left corner side turnbuckle. That's where Obafemi hits a double A spine buster. I thought Eddie Thorpe was not going to make it in this match. I thought this was going to turn to a storyline that, like, with Eddie Thorpe, like, wants a shot at the NXT championship. We probably will get it at the the Vengeance Day pay-per-view, which that's going to be in February, or if not, Stand and Delivered, like, because he was attacked by Obafemi, but he managed to come back. But it's where he hits But it's where he also gets hit by the ruler with that flying back suplex. It's where we got Obafemi then hits a elbow strike, boom, and this is where then he went right back to the upper left side, hits another one, and this is where then he gets went to try to go a third one. It wasn't the arm, unfortunately, but this is where Trick Williams tried to go for a trick shot. I think I made a huge blunder because this move was the first time he attempted to go for the maneuver, and he successfully did it. Like some might say it was plain luck, but I think even if it wasn't like plain luck, I think he would. But this is where he tried to go for another one, but with his knee exposed. But the one thing he totally forgot, he cannot do it twice. Like this is where like this was that occurred because lightning does not strike twice, especially if there's no whammy card that's gonna a double whammy card that's gonna reverse the curse or reverse the unfortunate. This is where he tried to do, but this is where he tried to go for Obafemi, but this is where he gets moved right to Eddie Thorpe, but Eddie Thorpe threw a chair right into his lower half. It's where he fell right into the ring. It's where Obafemi waited for him to turn around so he get the pop-up powerbomb, which that was the guarantee. And you will not believe what happened next with a 1, 2, 3. Once Obafemi go for the pin, and it's where everybody in attendance couldn't believe it. They started turning to that shocked Undertaker guy that got defeated by the man that Obafemi's been compared to, which I'm not sure if I should mention him by name due to him being involved with in a lawsuit with the guy that used to be in charge in the WWE. So yeah, like he just did like took a page out of his playbook and shocked the world, like with them not believing like Obafemi actually beating Trick Williams and becoming the new NXT champion. I'm like, wow. Like I knew that Obafemi were eventually gonna be the NXT champion, but I was not expecting tonight. I was like, the only new champion I see that's going to be happening tonight that happened was Julia beating Roxanne Perez, which I kind of figured that was going to be happening, but I did not know Eddie. I'm about to say Eddie. I mean, Obafemi was going to bring the NXT championship back home with him. But it's where him and Julia start celebrating, like if it's that Japanese Tokyo-based promotion over in the Pacific country. I get that in the Pacific country, like with men's and the women's wrestler that celebrates being the championship. Like in the it's the like with both of the belts are like the opposite represents for the opposite genders, like for the men's and women's, over at that company, like with one of their world championships, like for the men's and women's, like whoever becomes the new champion, they show them celebrating together, which that's what we saw here with Obafemi and Julia becoming the new men's and women's NXT champions. And it's been a while we've seen both the men's and women's wrestlers, like a little bit of a while. Let me rephrase that. We've seen both the men's NXT and the women's wrestlers like win those titles in the same night and become the new champion. And yeah, and this is where we saw like in the picture-in-picture break, which is the partial powerful force in all professional wrestling, we saw both of them went back in the gorilla. They celebrated with the now head writer, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. This is where I believe The Rock then came out and kind of celebrated. Congratulate them. I want to celebrate it. Congratulate. But this is where to show that the Meta Girls will be taking on down the Holy Union. Winner of that match get a shot at those women's tag team titles that Naomi and Bianca Belair currently hold. And next week we'll be seeing Nathan Frazier and Axiom against OTM, and this time I mean it. I understand why I did not mention this in the first place. Like, and they're trying to check in like who's going to be fighting tonight, but it's where. That's where too, Mr. Super Ninja Austin and being in a rivalry with him, eventually become a tag team and start feuding with the Usos for the NXT Tag Team Championship. Make it like a NXT version of what would happen on the main roster. Like if The Rock came back sooner, like when the Usos were still tag team champions and Roman Reigns was still the undisputed champion. But that's where we got the Rock then came out like with his new theme song, doom 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 doom, and I don't think he came out with this theme song like in last night's Raw when they debut on Netflix. I'm like, like it has me intrigued. Like maybe we could still see him as a heel, and he was just probably doing that as a one-off. But some think it's he's permanently going back as a babyface, and he's no longer going to be the heel final boss character again. But I was like, how would you know that when it was just one night for that special event? Like, how you don't know if he's not trying to surprise you all, like by doing that, and then actually doing the opposite, and going after Cody Rhodes for that WWE Championship. But this is where we got the Rock came out. This is where he did that pretty cool raise the eyebrow spot. This is where then the Rock was like, yeah, thank you. And then this is where then he's like, and that's where the fans are cheering Rocky because of. Then this is where he showed like his forearm, like which was blushing red, I guess you could say, like it fits his cheeks, like rather than his arm. This is where then he had a huge grin. This is where it took him a while to speak, but this is where fans start chanting NXT. This is where then we got, and then we got Yahoo! Like if he Maui from Moana. This one, man, I love you too. To a fan like that he loved the world. This way, yeah, he got all the fudge on sweet chocolate kiwi killing chills in his body. But this way, but it's crazy. This was like, woo, like this way, I can continue to like, man, like I'm still speechless right now. And that's where fans are chanting Rocky repeatedly. That's where they thanked him yet again. Is where that's fine. We got the chance to say this where like that's where it's like the jabroni beating and the pie eating, trailblazing, and eyebrow raising. Like I'm the final boss, and I'm the people's champ as well. And then Star Rock, and he sound like a babyface on this promo, but maybe he's just doing this for now, like until like whenever he makes a return on the Raw, like for a full-time spot, like on the road to WrestleMania 41. This is where he could go back to his heel persona. But I think some might say this was probably a bad idea, but I don't think it's a bad idea. Like it's just probably just the one-off right here. You have to give a treat to the fan. That's what. And that's where The Rock then mentioned this time last year, like Rock, the final boss, like was trying to be on his way of trying to and that's where he's like I wanted to do a big history-making match with my with my own cousin Roman Reigns, like and he's like and he told a story about when every time he goes to every gym or restaurant or strip club, like yeah, he did that strip club, which I was like, he really go like even at this age of 52 or 53 years old, but that's what he said. That's what he's like. And even church too. He's like, that's what he said. Restaurant, gym, strip club, and church. Like he was like, he's like, everybody was asking me, why am I being mean to Cody? Why am I being so harsh to him? And this was like, but well, like last night, like an electrifying event, like Rock gave he gave him the slappers and gave him croppers because he'd been kicking ass from the last 365 days, like. And this was then, ironically, when I started being nice to Cody Rhodes, and this was like these haters and fans were saying you cannot be nice to Cody, and this is where he started roasting. That's where he roasted Arab. Don't be nice to Cody. Like after all you did, this. And this where then he said like, and this where then he said this where he's like, and they also said like, oh, you can't be nice and share some vodka with Cody, like, and this where he's like, well, bull sugar honey iced tea, and she said like when they muted her. Or was it tequila? That's what he said they were drinking. But it's where it's all bull sugar honey iced tea, like breaking the fourth wall, right? And roasting those guys from the IWC that's being negative Nancy's by mentioning like why you're acting like this with. Even though like they were in a blood feud with the American Nightmare, And this is where The Rock was like, what y'all need to be doing is sit down and shut up, enjoy the ride and what you're seeing right now in WWE. Because we're raising behind them. This is where the fans that are true Blue Rock fans are clapping. This is where The Rock like, hey, this is like, all right, like, and then this is where he's like now like. Oh, before I get into that, I'm gonna mention that yeah. This is what I've been hearing. Like everybody been saying for the last day. Every time I watch a YouTube video or somebody on social media will be ranting and complaining and moaning about, why is The Rock being all nice or something? Like if their bloody feud was like probably 365 years ago rather than days ago. But this is where But yeah, this is where then we got this is where then Rock then also but yeah, I'll tell you, but despite what everybody said on the IWC, I have to agree with The Rock here because you have the point. First, you're asking me why am I being mean to Cody and being so harsh and saying so harshful language and attacking him and basically assaulting him. Now you're all of a sudden hypocritically asking me don't be nice to Cody considering what I did to him before. That's where The Rock then continued on this, but this is where fans start chanting.